Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we docked up here with our shuttle, bringing Tanley over to this station and picking up Dunhat, who is of course a scientist. That also completed our contract, which I think I actually already went through off camera, apparently. I must have. I don't remember doing that, but apparently I did. So that's fine. We are done with that contract. We could head back and grab a new contract, and actually that's probably the best thing to do here, isn't it? Because we need to know what the contract is before we decide how we want to bring these guys back. Now, the plan is that this shuttle definitely comes back to Kerbin. But I want to know, do we need to, fly by anything on the way? That might be something we can do with the amount of Delta V this thing has. So let's see what we've got available for an exploration contract. By the way, if you're wondering why I haven't been doing viewer contracts for a while and we've just been doing exploration contracts... Oh, it's Moho. Okay. The answer to that is because I'm currently recording quite a bit ahead for a upcoming travel for a family event. So we're not going to have any interruption of the upload schedule, but I don't have any to do right now. There probably will be, by the time you see this, there probably will be some in the comments. But right now, there aren't any to do. So we'll get back to those as soon as that trip is over, which should be in the next, 3 episodes? Something like that. We will get back to it. Do not worry. We need to perform a spacewalk in orbit around Moho. Okay. That's easy enough to do, but I don't think that our craft has the range to go from Duna to Moho, enter orbit, do a spacewalk, and then return to Kerbin without a refuel. So in that case, we should probably have that be a bespoke mission, and the Duna Station Transit Shuttle should just head back to Kerbin. If that was, around Ike, or even Dress, or something along those lines, it's very likely we could have been able to pull that off with an existing mission. But around Moho? I don't think so. So I just want to double check, make sure that we're ready to go here. We have Tanley in the Cupula module. We have Valentina, Dunhat, and Staney in the command pod. We have the relay antenna moved over here. That's probably going to want to find another home eventually, then right there, but we'll see. I think we're ready to go, so we can just simply decouple. There we go. Double checking this staging, it looks fine. Let's just back off a little bit with our RCS. Cool. And now we can plot a return trip. So that would be, we want to go towards the sun. So sometime around here, we would do a prograde burn like so. Making our way back to Kerbin. How's our timing looking? Exactly wrong. Okay, that's not shocking. So we'll just bring this up and have it go around here should be good. So that'll be fine. That'll be 400 meters per second. Not like that's complicated. That'll be in about 3 hours. Let's just get rotated here. We are, of course, fully fueled up. Eventually, we'll have to run some form of refueling to this station. Ike might be the way to go for that. Have a mining we actually already have a mining operation on Ike. We just have to land there and power it, and then create a system that can transit it over to the Duna Station Core. That's fairly doable, actually. We might work on that instead of the Moho mission after this. For now, of course, we need to warp. Goodbye, station. We're not moving away from it very quickly, but there we go. Cool. So we're going to commence this burn shortly, and yeah, I think that's very interesting. We would land a bit of a construction module out over here. We'd have to bring an engineer, but we'd land a construction module there where the goal would be to utilize our mining equipment that we already have there. So we're going to commence this burn. We'd need to land near that equipment, which isn't a big deal, and we would need to bring some sort of a command module for it because it's lacking one right now. Just make a few alterations to it on the ground with an engineer, and then we'd need to have some sort of a vehicle that can land there, fuel up, and then take off, take the fuel up to the station, and then go back. That would be the idea. How much spare fuel would that end up needing? I don't know. But we could definitely do something along those lines. I think that'd be a pretty cool mission and would use up a couple of these episodes where we don't have viewer contracts. I think that's fine. So we're just going to wrap up this burn here, the last little bit. This is good enough. We may have overshot it slightly, but that should be fine. I'm not too concerned about that. Yeah, this looks absolutely fine. So we know that our ascending-descending node is pretty close. We can just fix it here. It's not a big deal. We can just do that. It's 4 meters per second. Okay, let's align for that burn, and then we'll just bring these guys on home relatively easily here. Cool. So position like that, and let's warp. What do we got going on here? I'm receiving a bunch of messages. This is exciting. I'm not sure why I'm receiving messages, but... Oh, it's about the trip. Okay, cool. So that's not very relevant. I apologize for that. We've got our burn here in about 50 seconds, and we're going to tick on forward. 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, mark. I massively overestimated how long it was going to take to do that. Okay, this is what happens when I'm distracted. Cool. Let's bring this around, and let's get this fixed. There we go. Cool. Apparently we were burning on the rotation there, too. That was exciting. This should be good enough, right? Yeah, this is good enough. Okay, so at this periapsis, how would it look if we went for an encounter here? Not great. Cool. So we'll just circularize it then. This is close enough. 700 meters per second to do that. That's absolutely fine. No problem whatsoever. We'll get into position for that. This is going to be about a 300-day time warp. And again, just to reiterate, yes, I will be going on a trip. No, this will not be affecting the upload schedule. I will not be present, but the uploads are scheduled and ready to go, and it should be relatively seamless, all things considered. Of course, this is a fairly lengthy time warp, and we will be back near the end of it. See you guys in a moment. Okay, so here we are, basically at the end of the warp. Yeah, there we go. Warp is done. Fantastic. Let's fast forward here a little bit. 30 seconds, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, mark. Cool. So we're going to just circularize here. Excellent. I think I might have slightly overshot the circularization on the maneuver. Yeah, I definitely did. So we're just going to attempt to get that. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. We just need to be approximately circularized. So somewhere around... Let's bring this out of the physics warp. Yeah. Not quite there yet. Getting close. About here-ish. Overshot it a little bit, but that should do the trick. We're going to go into kill rot here, and let's look at what it would look like if we were to do something like this. Okay, so it's going to be a bit of a warp, no doubt about it. We're going to have to add in an orbit. Maybe even a second orbit. Yes. Definitely awkward timing. We could have done that better. No doubt about that. But this'll do right here. It's going to be pretty lengthy. Sure. I'm sure they'll be fine without their cat flicks for this duration. I'm sure they're not going to have a problem with it. We can dial this in, and I would definitely like to do so. Where's our maneuver at? There it is. Hi, maneuver. We're going to bring this guy right on in. Okay, looks like we're going to have to do a little bit of radial, maybe? No. That's a moon encounter, awkwardly enough. So somewhere around here is fine. Maybe if we toss in just a smidge more radial. Yeah, radial is now the correct direction. So that's another moon encounter. Awkward. But we managed to get past it. And we want to just dial this in to be about 40 kilometers is our target. So that'll be fine. It looks like we are reaching the limits of radial for the moment. So we're going back to prograde. Or technically this is retrograde. Okay, that's another moon encounter. Get out of here, moon. Nobody likes you. Ooh, we've almost dialed it in here. That's 30 kilometers and 40 kilometers. Okay. So we're going to almost certainly need to do a correction on this burn. But actually, this is going to nearly capture us. Look at that. We would definitely be able to arrow capture this. Cool. So that looks great. It's a good encounter, don't get me wrong. It's just a very long ways away. We're going to need to start warping there. Valentina, Dunhat, and Staney are going to be absolutely fine. Don't worry about them. They brought plenty of books. What's that? Oh. Only Valentina brought a book. And it was only the one book. And apparently it's pretty bad. Nobody likes the book. That is unfortunate for them. That is very, very unfortunate. Well, I wish them luck. See you guys in a bit. And with a time warp of a much more reasonable length, here we are, ready to go. Well, almost. Here in about another 10 days. Beautiful. So we're going to warp forward just that extra little bit further. 40 seconds, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, and mark. Cool. So we've got about 20 seconds of burn time here. We'll need to slow down just that a little bit, and we'll keep an eye on our actual burn here, of course. It's going to be interesting to see how this burn actually plays out, because we need this to be a very, very precise burn. So we're bringing this on down here. We're getting that last little bit in. Almost. 0.1 meters per second to go. I'm going to thrust limit it for this last little bit. Down to 1% thrust, and let's bring that right on in. This is looking very good. 50 kilometers and 40. Yeah, that'll do. That is perfect right there. I love it. So sometime around here is when we'll need to do a radial retrograde, right? We know that we're going to need a radial retrograde burn, so we're going to do something like so. Stop with the news satellite. No, I don't. Get out of here. Yes, delete the alarm. Okay. Fantastic. So now we're going to need to radial this a bit, of course. We'll bring that right on around, and we're targeting a final radial height here, or rather a final periapsis height here, of about 20 kilometers. This should do right here. What is the apoapsis there? That is within the atmosphere. Okay, we may want to be a little bit higher up when we do this burn. Somewhere around here. Okay, so that means that we're going to need to bring this around radially to around here or so, and then toss this in something like that. That should do right there. Apoapsis just inside the atmosphere, periapsis of 20 kilometers. That looks solid. Head on over to the node. We don't want to be on target mode here. We want to be on orbital mode. Head on over. Actually, it doesn't matter. But head on over. There we go. And let's get warping. So I was thinking about, during the last warp, I was thinking about what we're going to need for this hypothetical mining base out on Ike. And the most complicated part of it, I think, is we're going to need dedicated fuel tanks for transit and for landing, as well as our storage fuel tanks. The question is, do we want to do pure liquid fuel and have it run on nuclear engines? Or do we want to... I think that would probably be our best bet for the transit portion, to be clear. Or do we want... Hello, Kerbin. Or do we want to have it be... have it run oxidizer? I think... The thing about that is, we have a lot of liquid fuel on the station right now and no oxidizer, right? So it would be more convenient for us to operate based on the assumption that there will never be oxidizer in that engine. And we need to unthrust limit this. There we go. We'll warp a little bit further. It would be very convenient for us to work under that assumption. But should we? Those are two very different questions. Very different questions indeed. Well, we're going to start our burn here in about 20 seconds, so we'll get back to that here in just a moment. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1, and mark. So we're starting our burn here. That's going to be about a 2-minute radial retrograde burn. We know that we're not going to be in the atmosphere until after this burn is over, so I'm leaving these extended. Can these actually be retracted? No, they're not retractable. We weren't actually expecting to recover this, so that's reasonably fine. We'll just wait until this burn is over, and then we'll ditch whatever fuel we have left, which is some, certainly. It'll be about 1,000 meters per second. Cool. So we've got about 5 seconds of burn time left here. We're about to enter the atmosphere. And we've overshot a little bit. That's fine. Go to retrograde. And ditch that. There we go. Cool. This is, of course, what we're recovering. And that's absolutely fine. So this is just going to tumble on away. There's a lot of wasted fuel and RCS in it. I don't really like doing that, but it's fine. But I definitely think that a mining craft... because we already have the lander and the mining portion of that on Ike. So I really do think that a mining transit craft is a really good project to do here. So let's physics warp forward. And we have more drag than this thing does because of our heat shield on here. So that's just going to continue to go away from us. And we're just going to slowly head on in here. We are already impacting the ground. No shockers there. And we're moving at nearly orbital speed right now. You can see that we are currently increasing our speed. But we should, as we drop down through the atmosphere, have quite a lot of speed bleed off due to our drag. We can see here that our acceleration is actually slowing already. So I think it's slowing anyway. Maybe? Yeah, it's definitely slowing. There we go. Now we're starting to slow down. Are we going to be landing in land or sea? Looks like likely sea. Very likely sea. We're actually going to be landing pretty close to the KSC. That was accidental, but I like it. So that's great. We're going to be coming on in here as swiftly as we can. We should really be on surface velocity minus, not orbital retrograde at this point. They're subtly different. I believe that may have been our engine burning up in the atmosphere. Surely it wouldn't have impacted already. But we can see we're slowing down nicely due to our heat shield. That is absolutely great. We're definitely going to be coming down in the water here. Cool. Drogue chutes will be available shortly. There they go. And we're going to have our main now. That's, of course, going to pull us a little bit off kilter here, but that's not the end of the world. How are we doing on power anyway? Fine. No problem there. Cool. So down we go, and we're going to have to think about how we want to do this. We need to get an engineer out to Ike, right? And that engineer we're likely going to want to bring back home. So this is going to be like a not exactly a two-part mission, but a 2-component mission. So we're not going to send 2 separate missions out to Ike to get this set up. Yeah, I'm just thinking about the structure of this thing. It's going to be interesting for sure. So let's recover this, and we'll get this all good to go. I do want... I'm just thinking here. It's going to be complex. The major unit of complexity here is going to be how are we going to connect... How are we going to connect the 2 vehicles together on the surface of Ike? We could just simply use a grab arm, and I think that that's probably the way to go here. Oh, we returned home from the orbit of Duna for the first time, apparently. Cool. So let's hop into the VAB, and let's give this a little bit of thought to think about how we're going to pull this off. So I think we need to start... I think we need to start with our combined Duna lander, maybe? Or... Yeah, let's start with our combined Duna lander as a base. This, of course, is absolutely insane. And this is not what we actually want to bring. Now that I think about it, I think we're going to be much better off if we start with the Duna Station Core as our base. Okay, so this would be about transiting us there and back. Then we're going to need a vehicle that can move fuel to the station. This doesn't have to be complex. So, we would ditch this. That's unnecessary. We would bring a Mark III command pod, and this would have basically the same return structure that we just used. So it would have a heat shield down here. We would have 2 drogue chutes on here, like that. And then we would have a main chute attached to the back, like that. Then this would be attached on here. We would need a decoupler, wouldn't we? Yeah, that doesn't have a decoupler. That would help. So we need a TD25, that's a TD37, a TD25 decoupler, like that. On top of this, we don't actually need a docking port. We could just bring an antenna. Something like a Communitron HG61. We don't need anything other than that, in theory. So that's fine. Then we would have a pair of these guys, just like before. Of course, we do not require these docking ports. These are very, very unnecessary. Now, these silos here. First things first. We need to get some staging done here. So all of this fires off at once. Yes, those detach simultaneously, then these detach, then that detaches and that fires. This, of course, would go up here. These would theoretically, they would eventually detach, but not immediately, based on what I'm thinking right now. So it would be something kind of like this. Now, phase 4. What is the thrust to weight over Ike of stage 4? 2.34. So this would be able to land on Ike. But what if we did this a bit differently? I'm thinking about having these be doubled up right now. So I don't like this strut work. We're going to get rid of these struts for the time being. So getting rid of any of these bad boys here. There we go. The rest of these can stay for the moment. I'm thinking about having these be doubled up. Actually, these are going to have to go, aren't they? So for now, we can do that. If these get doubled up, then what we do is we take this off. We put on a power plant or not a power plant. We put on a battery bank, not that one. We put on a battery bank, and then on each of these, we would end up putting on something like, and we probably, yeah, we want to get rid of that for the time being. A battery bank goes here. And then we would need to put on a pod. So that would end up being a remote guidance unit, like this. Then on top of that would go docking ports. Well, RCS. We'd do RCS first. And then we'd put some command and control here, because RCS makes it a lot more convenient to do the docking, right? So, oh, this is going to be mildly awkward. So we would put in one, say, here. What? Where did that go? Okay. I guess we're just chilling in here for some reason. Where's that? Where's that at? There you are. Can we clip in and get it? Yeah, okay, cool. So there we go. We're going to put in one here, and then we're going to duplicate that, and we're going to put in one here, one here, and one here. Then on top of that is going to go docking ports. But we can do a fuel tank adapter. So we can do something like, not that one, that one. And then on top of that would go docking ports. So I do think we want... The thing about having oxidizer out here is that's a lot of extra weight, right? A whole lot. But that's okay. That should be fine. I'm also thinking about ditching this Cherenkov motor, but maybe not. So we would not allow crossfeed here. A docking port would go up top here. So we would end up putting a Clampatron docking port here. Even that we can fuel adapt a little bit less. Like that. It becomes a bit wild, for sure. Then each of these are going to need landing legs. Because the idea here is each of these becomes their own fuel ferry. And then this has the goal of landing the contraption, possibly with the assistance of motors from these, landing the contraption on Ike, fueling up with the mining apparatus there. And then each of these can be separately detached and lifted off to go up to the station. That's the idea here. And I don't necessarily love this positioning. They're all over the place. Let's just snap them into position vertically here. That should fix that problem. No, not you. Undo that. You. There you go. And then this one. Cool. So that should fix that problem. There we go. Now we're going to run some engines here. We're going to be running, I believe, some terriers. No, not terriers. Poodles. We want poodles. Now the question is, can each of these poodles lift off under a full weight here? And as a follow-up question, can they land on just these weights? These are questions we're going to have to answer. And I think that's something that we will answer in the next episode. But before we go, I want to get some landing struts on all of these. So we would put in a set of landing struts here. No, don't duplicate that. We would grab landing struts and have them be here. Duplicating the wrong thing again. No. I want the landing strut. There we go. We'd have them here, and then we'd have them on the interior here. So they'd clip in a little bit here, but it would be something kind of like that. We'll snap those into position. It is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to see how this thing goes. We're going to need to run a few tests. No doubt about that. You can leave your offerings. Oh, actually, I just realized we are going to have a problem here because this thing is going to be what's sitting on the ground. That is going to be an issue. We'll have to address that. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, James, Shadowwolf, Mlohan80, Ro Corvid, Kentogan, Andy McGar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12 UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.